It's estimated that $105 trillion will be transferred to the next generation by 2048, yet many families have not had any conversations about finances or passing down wealth. To share some advice on how families can start those important conversations around money, we're joined by JP Morgan Wealth Management's head of wealth partners and family wealth services, Jessica Douieb. Welcome.
Thank you so much for having me.
According to a new JP Morgan Family Wealth Institute report, 7 out of 10 family members say that they have some difficulty discussing financial matters with each other. Can you tell us why this is such a tough topic to discuss?
The reason why it can be so challenging is because there are emotional hurdles that really get in the way, and wealth can generate a whole host of emotions from pride to worry to thinking about the emotions around perceived fairness. And wealth creators can kind of be very hesitant to either disclose this information. Sometimes there's a miscommunication that can happen, and oftentimes it's because they just have a fear of conflict among their family members. Of course, nobody wants that. And the other issue they can be very concerned with is entitlement for the rising generation.
How would you recommend starting a conversation with your family about wealth, and how can we make sure that it's a productive one?
Well, having a productive conversation really does start with finding a common ground. So we have this situation where everybody comes at it from a slightly different perspective or a slightly different psychology, and then we need to create sort of a consensus or find some sort of a consensus. One of our suggestions is to listen. Truly listening, deeply listening, and listening preferably without judgment in a supportive and engaging environment for families. With that listening, we have to identify in that common ground piece shared family values. Now, again, the values topic is very interesting because each of us has sort of a different set of values. And so we have a numerous exercises, for example, where we can work with individuals first and foremost to identify what their values are and then how they prioritize those values, again, individually. And then collectively as a family, there are many shared values. And those shared values are then the creation of the start of a family mission statement or a value statement. Now, whilst many families can absolutely have the dialogue themselves, we often do suggest that there is a trusted third party that can be involved in order to sort of ease any tensions and make sure that those conversations are happening.
And what tips do you have for families to keep this conversation ongoing over the years?
And this is a really fun one because the main tip that we would suggest is to create shared experiences for the family. Some examples for shared experiences could be a multi generational holiday or vacation, ideally something that they do year over year or it becomes something of a tradition for the family. Another great example could be a shared philanthropic project whereby certain family members or maybe the whole family is participating on how they want to contribute and give back to their communities. And what can really be encouraging for the younger generation in maybe a project, for example, is that they actually have actionable next steps and ways in which they can continue having that ongoing dialogue with their families. Another really lovely example that can be very interesting is thinking about stewardship. Now, what does it mean to be a steward of the family's legacy? And one of the ways that we suggest our families think about that is sharing their family's history. And it's a great opportunity for the older generations to share maybe what their generation and previous generations have contributed into creating the wealth. What was the hard work and dedication that was needed to evolve into the wealth that the family has today?
Lastly, why is this dialogue crucial for your family's legacy, and how can it help prevent conflict or surprises down the road?
So many families, frankly, don't want to engage. They don't want to have the conversation, or they have a partial conversation. In some cases, they might have a miss conversation. In our research, we found that 87% of the millennial and the Gen Z respondents actually value and want to understand their family wealth matters and they want to have those conversations. But interestingly, we have to bridge the generations because the older generation, the boomer generations, are actually pretty reluctant to have that conversation. In fact, our respondents of nearly a third of our boomers don't think that the conversation is important at all. So it's an interesting nuance among the generations to try to bridge. We have found in working with our families that oftentimes conversations are catalyzed by a crisis or some sort of significant life event. Now, The challenge with that is one, given a crisis or a significant life event, family members can feel pretty unsettled and they're just trying to process the event itself. And number two, if new information has come to light to that family member, they might feel incredibly unprepared to take on those new responsibilities as a result of that life event. We suggest to our clients that proactive planning and ongoing multi generational communications are the most important ways in terms of preserving a family's legacy.
A lot of great insight there. Jessica Douieb, thank you so much for being here today.
Thank you so much for having me. It's been a pleasure.